Hello and welcome to Creator Weekly Live for June 23rd, 2024. I'm Peggy Kay, and today there are updates for YouTube and Instagram Reels, Threads, and some more if we have time. Thank you for joining me today. I hope you are enjoying summer and it's not too hot where you live. I'm sort of having a hot weekend, but I don't do well with heat. Thank you for joining me today live. I see Craig and Julian in the audience today. If you're here live, please say hello in the chat and let me know where you're joining from today. I also want to know what you think about this week's updates. So let me get started. And the first thing I wanted to mention is that the YouTube thumbnail test and compare tool that I mentioned last week. This is ABC testing of thumbnails for your YouTube videos. Now should be available to everyone with an eligible YouTube channel. That means you need advanced features enabled for your channel. You can check that in YouTube Studio. Currently, this is only available on desktop. And the way it works is you have to upload your up to 3 thumbnails, and YouTube then runs them against each other concurrently. So it should be a true comparison. That test runs until there's a clear conclusion or up to 2 weeks. So you can stop the test anytime, you can change the thumbnail. It's a really interesting tool. So far, I've tried it, and my tests have been inconclusive. It's partially because I'm not getting enough views. It works best if you have a video that's getting a lot of impressions, so it's a good test. I probably also need to work on my thumbnail skills, so that's a project to work on this summer. If you have not tried it, I recommend you do so. The next update for YouTube is that they have expanded the options for privacy complaints. They say for AI synthetic content. This is for a situation where someone creates a deep fake. So they use AI and they use your face or your voice to impersonate you. You can file a privacy complaint about that now. And of course, there's also an impersonation complaint. So if they're pretending that the channel is you, then you can file an impersonation complaint. But if it's just one video and they use your voice or your face, you can file a privacy complaint now. I want to say hello again to everyone in the chat. And it looks like some people are seeing an updated layout for their videos where things are rearranged. Thank you, Julian, for giving some help there. Julian says YouTube has moved the information below a video to the side and put the listing of more videos below the one playing. Yeah, they are moving things around. I believe that you maybe are only seeing this if you have YouTube Premium and you're testing things out. But YouTube is testing things all the time. And, you know, in addition to figuring out how this is actually working, the way you're seeing, do send feedback to YouTube whether you like it or you hate it, or you just have comments on it. They are interested in knowing. The next update I wanted to mention, this is not really so much an update as a tip. Really hard to see in the screenshot here. There is a link in my newsletter this week or on my blog post. There is a link in the video description to that. Basically, I had no idea there is an option to have a correction notice for your videos. And One of the things that this lets you do is update older videos that may have wrong information. I definitely need to do this for some of my older videos. And you add a timestamp, just like when you're creating chapters, and then people will see this notice pop up that there's a correction. They can click that, and then they will see the updated information. One of the things that's really tricky about YouTube is that there are tons and tons of features everywhere, and a lot of them are really popular and everybody knows about them. Some of them get kind of buried, like this corrections feature. I know the YouTube liaison, Renee Ritchie, posted about it. A lot of longtime creators said they had no idea this was even available. It is mentioned in the YouTube Help Center, but if you're already aware of how things work, you're probably not going through the Help Center to see if there's some new feature added. So if you have videos that need a correction, this is something that you may want to try. I know I need to. And that brings me to the latest big update that YouTube mentioned this week. Oh, Eileen in the chat says, Renee may not know this. When this feature was first announced 2 years ago, it did not work. Not sure when it got fixed, but I tried it several times before I gave up. Ah, that's very interesting. That may be why it isn't really widely known. If people tried it and it just didn't work for them, it's not really going to be part of people's tool set. That is really interesting. It seems like it's working now, at least when Renee did it on one of his videos, it seemed to work. So maybe give it another try and see if it's working now. If it's not working now, please do report it to YouTube. You can do that by sending feedback from inside YouTube. You know, I'm a YouTube product expert. It's a volunteer. I'm not a YouTube employee. I can escalate things, but really YouTube and all Google products and services appreciate reporting things from inside the product. That report goes directly to the teams involved so that they can actually see that this is an issue. Thank you so much for bringing that up. So I wanted to switch a little bit to the big update YouTube made this week. And one of the things that is a big concern to YouTube, to all platforms, is the spread of misinformation, disinformation, false information. And sometimes that is shared unknowingly, like someone may have incorrect information and they put it in their video. Sometimes it's done intentionally to try and spread false information. If you are over on X, Twitter, you have probably seen community notes. This is something that Twitter launched back in 2021, and they let users write a note, and then there's a system of upvoting, downvoting to determine whether those notes are publicly visible. The idea is to add context to the post. Now, YouTube is testing a similar system, and they announced it this past week. The example they show, which is just a mock-up, I think, shows, a video about 15 extinct animals you should know, and then someone leaves a note that says, some species of giant tortoise were thought to be extinct, but they're actually still alive, and then there's a link to an official site. This is starting out on mobile in the US and in English. And during the test phase, YouTube knows that there are going to be problems with this. So this is really in the testing phase. One of the things that they will be doing also is that during this testing phase, there's only going to be a limited number of people who can add notes. This is by invitation. If you see this in your account, give it a try if you see something incorrect. But one thing that they are going to do is have third-party evaluators look at these initial notes for quality. They say these are the same people who provide feedback on YouTube search results and recommendations. And then eventually the contributors will help rate notes as well. I think one of the things that is interesting is that they are then going to use what they call a bridging algorithm, which determines which notes actually appear publicly, not based on engagement, but based on some sort of consensus that it's a high quality note. As YouTube puts it, a bridging-based algorithm helps identify notes that are helpful to a broad audience across perspectives. If many people who have rated notes differently in the past now rate the same note as helpful, then the system is more likely to show that note under a video. These systems will continuously improve as more notes are written and rated across a broad range of topics. So Craig mentions YouTube is getting ideas from X as usual. I'm not sure where the as usual comes in here. I haven't seen YouTube use it, but the community notes on Twitter and X, my understanding is that they're considered to be successful. It's not perfect. Some of the notes, of course, can be wrong, but the idea is that the systems are not just showing notes based on the number of thumbs up, because that can be gamed pretty easily. But instead, there's a more complicated algorithm that is supposed to make sure that only notes that are more generally helpful appear. And I think it's interesting what they're talking about in terms of what kind of notes they want. These are the tips they have for writing. Notes should always be in your own words, not copied directly from any place. They should add clarity or useful context. They should cite sources that support the note's claims. I assume that there's some sort of filter for reliable sources and it's not just some random person's blog. You're supposed to use language that's easy to understand. Use neutral language and avoid expressing an opinion. I think that's where a lot of people are going to fall down on this. And offer important context that isn't readily available in the video, description, or title, and directly address a claim made in the video or title. So they don't want people to post a note that says, I hate this and this person sucks. No, instead, it needs to say, this particular statement a person made is incorrect for the following reasons. Here's an authoritative source for that. How well will this work? It will be interesting to see. If you're in the US, keep your eyes open for these notes on the videos you watch. I think they are more likely to appear, obviously, on videos that are explaining things, presenting information, presenting an analysis of the news, and not, videos of people singing or dancing. This is a very difficult thing for platforms to deal with. How do you deal with bad information, misinformation, without the platform itself making a determination whether something is true or false? And so this is sort of a way to crowdsource it in a way that hopefully can't be gamed. Now, one of the issues on X is that apparently the owner of X can have notes removed that he doesn't like. So it's probably not going to be so top down on YouTube. I think that there will be a lot of contentious argument about some of these notes, though, when you get into things like politics and world events, because sometimes there may not be an absolute truth. There are a lot of topics where things are in flux or the true information may not be known. I think those are going to be tricky. Maybe this bridging algorithm will work and only display things where there is a clear consensus of what the facts are. But we shall see. I'm going to shift gears a little bit now, away from going to shift away from YouTube and shift to Meta. So, as you're probably aware, Meta has its own short text posting social platform called Threads. Threads launched last year. It was immediately a success in part because it's linked to Instagram. So people could start on Instagram and then create a profile on Threads that basically has the same social connections. So for example, I did that with my Instagram account and I set it so that I would follow anyone on Threads who I already followed on Instagram. So I had an immediate network of accounts I was following. Since then, I've been following a lot of other accounts. I've been noticing more and more people moving to Threads from X as X gets less and less useful. And there's a network effect, of course, so that as people start to move away from X, more people move away. Will everyone move? I don't know, but I think Threads is good. I like it a lot, and I found some really interesting people to follow there. You might check it out. The important thing is that Threads has made their API broadly available to developers. What this means in practical terms is that there can be more third-party services that let you interact with your Threads account. So that would be like a social media posting tool that lets you use their tool to post to Threads, respond to comments, comment on other posts. It also, I believe, includes analytics. So I think this will actually increase the number of brands, at least, that are using Threads because those tools are available. Yeah, I sort of hesitate sometimes because it's hard to know what's going to happen in the long term. And I feel very much that the kind of social media landscape that we had 10 years ago is not the landscape today. Things are a lot more fragmented. I don't think there's any one place where everyone will be anymore. So it's good to know what these platforms are, but then to find the one where you are interested in the conversations and the posts and the information. One thing I read this week is that government agencies that use automated services to post to X, like updates and notices, they got a notice this week that they have to move to X's updated API. Apparently that was something that was originally announced like last year sometime, but then they said, oh, you don't have to move yet, you don't have to move yet, and now they got a notice, you have to move by the end of the month. So there may be some of these government agencies that stop automatically posting to Threads if they don't have the resources to update to the new API. Eileen says, this will make it easier for me to post to Threads because I rarely post. I hope you post more. I'm pretty sure I follow you on Threads as well as X. One thing I have noticed on Threads is that their algorithm actually really favors engagement, but there is I don't know if it's the algorithm or how they have it set up, but it's really beneficial to people who are involved in conversations there. I'm not sure it works well for brands that just post things automatically and don't otherwise engage. Again, these things can change. I think having the API available, more third-party tools is really going to be a game changer there. Will it change things for the better or worse? I don't know. Just a few other updates. Instagram posted Instagram Reels tips and tricks. These are some new features that they really want to highlight in Reels. And I'm going to just highlight a few things. You can share your reel with just close friends. In addition to Reels with close friends, they also have a new option to go live with just close friends. And I feel like they're really leaning into this idea that a lot of people don't necessarily want to post publicly. They want to share with a more limited group, and they're providing options for that. You can have multiple collaborators on your reel. You can add 5 collaborators, and of course, this is a boost because the reel then appears on all of the collaborators' profile. And it's a great way for you to find a new audience and to give people a new audience. They have a way to add animated lyrics. If you add music in the Reels editor, you can have the lyrics show. And there are updates to the templates. These are popular templates that you can use to create your own reel in the Reel editor. There is improved editing. You can integrate the same effects. You can get inspiration to see how others used a particular template and so forth. So they want to make it easy for people to create content that looks good and will get shared. So those are things to try if you're over on Instagram. Over on Substack, they are rolling out a video clip editor. So the idea is that if you are on Substack, which I still think of as a newsletter platform, but it's not so much anymore. Probably because when people have newsletters, that doesn't really keep people on Substack. So they've added community and a sort of social feed and uploading videos directly. If you upload videos directly, you can use their editor to create a clip that you can then share on other social sites. I think one thing that all of these platforms struggle with is if you provide a service that people can leave and move to a different service, how do you actually maintain your customers? You can do what Substack is doing and make features that are exclusive there. You can basically get people locked in to the platform. Thank you so much. Craig says, give me a thumbs up. Yes. If you like this video, you will see more like that. And Jolyn says, please subscribe. Yes, please subscribe. I'd love to have you all here. Thank you so much for joining me in my weekly updates. I love the conversation. One thing you guys are talking about is which platforms you use. And Craig says, you only use X at the moment, not much time to do the socials. And Eileen says, most of her posts are on Twitter and private Facebook groups, and we post on the community tab. I think that this is something that a lot of people are struggling with. There's lots and lots of platforms, and you really have to pick and choose. Where do you spend your time? Where do you spend your energy? I've noticed even for big brands who presumably have a team of people posting, you can really tell that they have primary social sites that they focus on, and everything else is sort of an afterthought. This is why I really like the idea of federation. I know I've mentioned this before, where the idea is that you can use whichever platform you like the best, but then people can follow your posts and engage with your posts, even though they're on a different platform. Will this happen? I don't know, but it does help that platforms like Threads are actually incorporating federation. Maybe this is a thing that will happen. Maybe the sort of walled gardens that we've got for X and even Facebook will be a thing of the past. We shall see. How do you make money from that, though? That's the big question. A couple things I wanted to mention. The first thing is I discussed previously, there was a big to-do over Adobe's updated terms of service. A lot of confusion about what they could and could not do with people's data. They actually rewrote and published updated terms again this past week. This is a really good thing. They actually have a clear, plain language description of what the terms are for each of the sections. They make really clear that they do not claim ownership of your content. They do not use your content for training unless you specifically upload it to Adobe stock or you allow that. So if you have files in the Creative Cloud, they're not automatically going to use those for AI training. I recommend you check out the new terms, read them and understand them. It is important to make sure that they are not asking for more than they should. I think that the way the terms were previously written, they were very broad. And even if Adobe says, oh, well, we don't do that, well, it should actually say that explicitly in the terms. So this is a big improvement. The other thing I've been thinking about very briefly is that Beehiiv, which is the platform I use for my newsletter, I will just give it a plug right now, peggyktc.beehiiv.com, comes out every Saturday. Now, Beehiiv has paid subscriptions, not something I've really looked into heavily, but they have a new feature, which is basically like a tip jar. You can, instead of just having options where people can pick $5 a month for one level, $10 a month for another level, whichever. Now you can have a pay what you want option. It's like a tip jar. That seems really neat. They mentioned, well, if you have a free newsletter, this can be something you use. So I thought, oh, that's cool. But the thing is, you have to actually be paying for an account. You can't be using a free account like I am. You have to have a paid account to enable the payments. So you have to decide whether the incoming payments for the newsletter would be enough to cover the monthly fee, which is like $40 a month at the lowest tier. So I'm thinking about this. Is this something I could do? Is this something people would be interested in? How much does Beehiiv keep? I will show that. Eileen says, how much does Beehiiv keep? Beehiiv doesn't keep any of it. So at least right now, that's one of their big selling points is that they take 0% cut of your subscription revenue, unlike the other options out there. So this is actually a good deal. Will it be like that forever? I don't know. But if you think you can get $40 worth of income, it might be worth it. They do have also promotion options where you can say, if you send people to my newsletter, you get a certain amount of cut of the subscription fee. There's advertising options. So they have these internal promotion things that you can run as well. I'm thinking about it, but I am not good at this sort of thing and figuring out what people might pay, what people might want. Alrighty, so those are the updates for this week. I wanted to just give a little plug. I am hosting the OnEBoardChat this week. The topic is group chat and communities. You can take a poll over on X or on my community tab. It's also on LinkedIn. And I'd love to hear what you guys think. And with that, thank you so much for joining me this week. I love the conversation here. Have a fantastic week, and I hope your summer is going well. See you next Sunday.